What's up, guys?
Happy Monday. Hope you guys are doing good on this snow day.
Yeah.
We are down in our undisclosed bomb shelter with our wolf dogs and narcotics called 3D energy drinks.
That's
not
right,
sponsored.
Man. Had a good snowstorm today. It's good to hang out in the house and get some stuff done in there.
For some reason, I can't share it. Did it let you share?
Yeah. We should be good, bro.
For some reason, it's not letting me share.
We
I'll
should
try
be
to.
good.
I'll try to share here in a little while.
Cool.
Happy Monday, guys. Great topic. And if you hear me talking about sharing, I'm trying to share, obviously, our live feed from, we're live on YouTube, Facebook Live. This goes to iTunes, Spotify. So if you guys enjoy the content and you want to listen other time, you guys can always go to iTunes, Spotify. It's Day 100 podcast. However, we are updating some of our stuff and working through a couple of different things. And that's actually, it kind of goes with today's topic, creating content. Fat's the guy that helps us produce this, and I'm sure you guys are aware of him. We talk about him a lot. And he's also got some other projects. He freelances and does some other stuff, and he's in his 20s and wants to travel and do that, which is awesome. I did it myself in a different theater, the Marine Corps.
Right.
Maybe a little bit more exciting, but more dangerous, I guess you could say. But neither here nor there. We want him to do that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's like, well, shit. We have a podcast twice a week. What are we going to do, right? So part of creating content and being an entrepreneur is improvising, adapting, and overcoming. Very, very much like how we approached, when Marines were preparing for battle. It's just an unknown battlefield, and there is no excuse as far as performing and winning. Okay, like you've got to improvise, adapt, and overcome, and that's something that we're doing here. So Eli and I now run the podcast for the most part ourselves, and by we, I mean I run my fat mouth, and Eli's on the back end doing the actual brains of the work and doing all that because we've had to adapt to, just Fat want to do some other stuff, and of course he can be here, like when he's in town and he loves being here, and everything is on a great note. So just in case there's some drama or something silly that would pop out, I can't imagine what it would be, but nope, everything's all good. He's just doing other stuff, and the podcast still has to continue. So what do? You adapt, man, and you learn how to create. And the benefit to that, and we're going to get into creating content today. So the reason why I'm a little long-winded on this is the benefit of that is whether it's yourself or you and a business partner, it's great when you don't necessarily have to rely on so many other variables in order to get your stuff done, because now you're susceptible to people not producing, people growing in their own career, but you lay victim to other people having different priorities versus if you can understand how to produce your own content, create your own content, the variables that are involved, super less, and now you control your own outcome.
And it's just part of mastering your craft, man. And what's nice about that is just like anything, dude, if you're not, if you don't have a basic level of understanding as far as what it is that you're trying to do and how to put out a good product, you're not going to be able to instruct someone else on how to do that or know what a good product looks like or not. And frankly, man, I mean, the stuff just isn't that hard to figure out. You get on YouTube, you learn about podcasts, you learn about, your soundboards and how to record all this shit. You learn about video. I mean, there's instructionals on how to do everything. I don't understand when people just kind of chalk it up like, hey, I just don't know how to do that, right? Therefore, I'm not going to do a podcast. I'm not going to do video because I don't have time to do it on my own, and they just don't care to learn about it. Here's the thing, guys. You have to learn. But going forward, what are some of our bullet points, man, that we're talking about today as far as creating content for people out there?
Yeah, so we're going to kind of go over those, man, and do the best we can with them as far as, obviously speaking to our scope. But as far as like creating content, one of the biggest ones, I think for us and for a lot of people, and we're not the only ones to say this, documenting. Right. So a lot of times, and you guys have heard this from your Gary Vaynerchuk's and a lot of people, I think a lot of people have spoken to this, at least from what we've observed. So it might sound cliche at this point. It doesn't make it bad advice, though, just because it's cliche. Now, my analogy for that, right, is when a great song comes out and you love it, and then the radio plays it 30 times a day, and it's like, fuck, now you're just over that song. The song isn't bad. It hasn't changed at all. You're just worn out, and you don't want to hear it, and it's played out. Yep. Well, there's a lot of things in business that we're starting to figure out that sound cliche. First and foremost, it's deeper than that statement. Yeah. If you actually have your own experience, when someone says, hey, document, that goes a lot deeper than you realize. And secondly, it can sound a little cliche or a little watered down because you hear it a lot. But it doesn't devalue that it's true.
Right.
You're just hearing it from a lot of people, and a lot of times, you know, who you hear it from matters. So again, it's cliche. It might be watered down. A lot of people speak to it, but documenting is super important. So documenting, you've got to kind of stay in your lane. Okay. Like you can't speak outside of your experience and outside of like maybe what you know. That's where you become super vulnerable, right? You start running your mouth about things that you don't know, which means now you're regurgitating what an article, you're regurgitating what someone else said. Not good. You can take what someone says and then you can apply it to you, and you can speak to how that speaks to your perspective. But that's it. You really have to be careful going outside of your scope and speaking to things that are not within your experience, right? So, all right, well, then what do I create, Will? Well, what's my story? Well, you don't necessarily have to create something special. You don't need a movie trailer. You just need to document, you know, who you are, what you're all about, and then just daily tasks. You know, I think for you and I, so an example, right? Like I'm big on examples, especially when people run their mouth. So, okay, here I am running my mouth. What's your example, tough guy? Well, my example is our Friday videos, right? Like we were on our cell phones and we try to still do it. We suck at holding ourselves accountable to it, but we try.
We'll forget this once in a while, yeah.
Yep. But we did our Friday videos, and it was, hey man, we are two young professionals running a business together, along with both having kids at the same time, and just tackling life. So it wasn't even real estate specific. We did have real estate topics in there. We did, you know, but we speak to fitness. We speak to being dads. We speak to real estate. And then we would speak to how does all that kind of coincide together? Like, hey, how does being good at this make me good at this? And how does being good at this, like how does being a good dad make me patient? Well, I'll tell you, if you can be super patient with a 7-year-old and their antics and explaining something 20 different times until they understand it and then supervising them, you're going to be really good at explaining a real estate process to someone who's an adult, however, has either never done a real estate process or the last time they did it was 20 years ago. Guess what? You're going to say things 20 times and they're not retarded. And no, they're not a kid. I'm not saying they're adolescent. I am saying they correlate. You're in an environment, whether it's a child or an adult, you got to articulate stuff. You got to say the same thing 20 different ways to get them to understand it, and you have to be patient, and you have to be understanding. You have to shoulder their stress. There's a lot that correlates. So you and I literally were like, man, like we're running this business together. We're both literally having babies at the same time. They were exactly 6 months apart to the day on the 19th. Also, you know, being friends, and it was like, man, there's just so much here. Let's just talk about it. But we never went outside of our scope. So my example was, Eli and I took our business life and our personal life and our friendship and growing into young men and that perspective. And is it even okay to be a young man anymore? You know, and our perspective with that, and then our history in fitness and how we apply fitness to all of this. And every week we would just create a topic and just speak to it. And it took off, man. And it gave, so how does that apply to business? Well, let us talk business when we were talking business, but just allowing people to hear your thoughts and articulate thought. They can get a good perspective on you. Whether you're talking about being a dad or being a realtor, they can get a good perspective on you. And people tend to do business with folks that they like. And the more opportunity you have of showing people who you are and what you're all about, if they enjoy you and they feel like you're respectable, they don't need to hear your real estate deal. They feel like you're going to be putting your best foot forward and that you're trustworthy, and they get that good vibe. They end up doing business from you. So that was your and I's version of just documenting what we're all about, what we're doing, man.
Well, and why I like the whole document concept, man, is because it takes the pressure off the feeling that a lot of people get when that comes to creating content. A lot of people, they're going to have just pressure and feel, I'm not that creative, or I don't have that much to say, or this or this. Here's the thing. You live a day every 24 hours, right? And just having the mindset of documenting versus creating takes that pressure off of having to come up with something just fancy to put online, and just document your shit, man. That's my favorite part of that. You just document what you're going through every day.
Right. And you kind of just have to take that perspective of yourself off. Okay. So maybe you don't think you're interesting. Okay. But maybe, well, like, whatever your career is, right? Like, I don't know, whatever it is. Someone out there thinks it's interesting. Okay, like you do it every day, so maybe it's not. Maybe it's like it's redundant or whatever it may be. But someone might watch what you do, and like for documentaries, they're not entertaining. Like they're just interesting. You're like, oh wow, fun fact. Or maybe just like when you're talking about being a dad, or you're talking about how you carry yourself, or what you're doing in business. Maybe someone just, you're not telling them anything new. maybe you're just solidifying that there's other good dudes out there. Like maybe a guy doesn't have a lot of guy friends, you know, and he's trying to be the best dad he can, and what he is around just isn't the best, right? So maybe he's just out there and he's watching stuff, and he sees your page, and you know, your kids go to the same school or whatever, for whatever reason you're on the same, you know, you have mutual friends, but you're friends on Facebook,
Right?
And you know, you have an opinion about something, or you're just documenting what you're doing as a dad and how you handle something, you know, it might just solidify, like, okay, like, man, I am doing the right thing. Like every other guy that's a dad that I know is doing this, and I just don't feel that's right. And but then you do something, and it's like, oh, okay, like I'm not alone in this. Like, okay, I believe the same thing. I don't want my kids on social media. Every other dad around me allows it, but I don't want to. But I feel weird because I don't have anything to like go off of, or to like validate what I'm doing. And not that we need other people's validation, but kind of like you tend to doubt yourself when you're like that lone wolf.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe it's just that, or maybe it's you starting a new business, and there's guys out there, girls out there that want to start something, and you're just shedding light on how you're taking it step by step. You never know the type of value that you're going to bring to someone by just documenting your day. Like even if a mom has a bad day, right? Well, dads have bad days too. So a mom or a dad, whoever, you have a bad day, and maybe you do something funny online.
Yeah.
Like you make a video and you're showing the house because the dogs ran mud all through the kitchen and it spilt the soup.
Yeah.
And like funny, but then you made your cleanup like a workout. I don't know. I'm shooting from the hip here, but someone's going to see how you took a terrible day and you made it a positive.
Yeah.
Maybe that's all that, like they don't need to know how to make your soup. They don't need nothing. They've had a day like you've had. Maybe it was just, oh, cool, man. Like, I like how she put a twist, and you know what? She just sucked it up and had a positive day, and like, oh, I could do that. And then now, maybe it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, that person has a bad day, but they remember your video, and then they try to just put a positive spin on it and just make it the best that they can, right?
Yep.
Like, you just never know what unfolds unless you're doing it. Now, with that being said, when we talk about documenting, in order for you to say, hey, I'm documenting, in my opinion, where we've seen results, and where we've seen impact is keeping it consistent, right? Like we did that for over a year, every single Friday, sometimes even more. But we did that for a significant amount of time in order for us to actually see some great results from it, man. Like we started a networking group from it, right? Within business. So for those of you guys that don't know, something that brewed from that within the lending and the real estate world, obviously Eli and I are brokers. So within that world, every time we would talk about health and fitness, we had an extraordinary reaction to it. Everyday folks that are not in our world, but in addition, folks that are lenders and realtors also reached out. And because we have a similar career and we can kind of speak to it, we created a networking group called Fit Works, as in being fit works mentally, physically, emotionally. And we started it from the physical side and just took people through a year-long networking group that started super basic. Like, what's a calorie? We're talking that basic, and we took them through the consistency of an entire year to just mentor them. It was a free networking course that we did. We met with them once a week, and it was a super high standard, super high attrition. If you couldn't hack it, you were out. And it was hacking it as far as your commitment to that course, not to me, not to you, but to the course and to your peers. But it brewed that, and I guess we should talk about that too. Is like just feeling momentum and feeling feeling where your content takes you, but. We then did that networking group for an entire year, which led us to our online real estate training that we're going to get involved with in 2020 and really scale nationally, right? So being consistent is huge. And I know I'm being long-winded here, but obviously you can speak your opinion to these points. But man, you can't do something once or twice. You can't go to the gym once or twice. You can't do a fad diet once. You can't anything once or twice. And I'm really loving a year because not only is a year enough time, but there's going to be incremental adjustments. So for me, I don't like giving up, but I do expect things to not work, and I have to be flexible and make adjustments. And then once I make an adjustment, it's like that clock just started over.
Right.
It's like you doing some fad diet and you realize it doesn't work, and then you figure out what you should be doing, and then okay, I'm going to do that. Okay, well, you're no longer 6 weeks into your diet because 6 weeks was research that showed you didn't work. So now that you're going to do the diet the right way, you're back at day one. So when you're marketing or you're building your own content and you're documenting and something's not working or there's a vibe change, whatever it is, and you make an adjustment, you're now back at day one. So the reason why I do like at least a year is it allows enough time to start something, get enough traction to see what's working, what's not working, how can we make an improvement, make the improvement, and then still have enough time to see where those improvements take you. Does that make sense, right?
Yeah, I agree. And as far as consistency, man, what do you like as far as, do you have a system that you follow as far as posts per day, posts per week?
No.
Anything like that?
Oh, man. Is that like a trick question, Eli? Do you make your bed every day? Fuck no.
I'm just curious. Yeah.
I do like framework.
Okay.
So I do like, hey, we're going to make a video once a week because you're going to forget if you don't. There are some guidelines you got to set yourself up for. But I am big on, like, if I'm not in the mood to make a post or if there's nothing that's coming to mind, like I don't call my stuff motivational. I call it matter of fact. I guess if I had to call it anything.
That's a good word for it.
But if today, it's Monday, what's your Monday post? Like if I feel like posting something that I think is valuable, I post it. And if I feel myself fishing and searching for something, I don't post, man. I don't want to be that guy that's just posting content for the sake of posting content because I'm gonna drown myself. I'm gonna waterboard myself and water myself down. I don't like that. However, that's a slippery slope to like never feeling like it, because at some point, whether you feel like it or not, you got to produce a product. So I did like that once a week Friday video, and obviously, guys, we're talking about your content. We're not talking about whether you want to wake up and go to work or not, whether I was posting on social media or not, and whether I felt like it or not. I was waking up, going to work every day. We were grinding every day. Whether it ended up on social media or not, no, that's debatable. But that's where it's slippery, because it's an option, because it, social media doesn't control us, because it's not our boss, because you could go 6 months without posting and Facebook does not call you mandating you to post something, right? Like, it can go to the wayside.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to be careful. So I did like that once a week video. However, the contingent to that was that once a week video kept things top of mind, which kept reminding me about just certain fundamentals and just where I saw a shift. And it allowed me to just think better. So throughout the week, I was naturally posting more. Yeah. Because of my consistent once a week video, it was all the bleed out from that. That bled into my week of like thinking about what we're going to post on, like what we're going to talk about on Friday, or after that Friday, just thinking about over the weekend what that video meant to me. Like, it kept things top of mind, so it kept brewing thoughts that I wanted to post. So that once a week framework bled into consistency because it kept it top of mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think for consistency, man, like, obviously that's number one. And two things with that, like, just make sure that whatever your system is, if it's like Will's where, there's a set once a week thing and then other things kind of bleed off from that. And then obviously we have our podcast and there's other layers that naturally happen. Just make sure that you have a system that you're going to follow. If you're the type of person that you would just forget if you didn't have like set days that you post on and you're like, nope, I'm good for content, I just need to post it on these 3 days. Sure, go ahead, whatever you're going to do. But then also understand, like, things do come in layers. So like for us, we started with that once a week video. We didn't decide, okay, we're going to do a podcast twice a week. We're going to do a video once a week. And then we're going to do a real estate video. It's not like that, guys. Like, that's a real easy way to burn yourself out and end up doing it for a few weeks and then stopping, right?
Well, burning yourself out and just understanding, like, if you and I tried to do that in the beginning, we didn't have enough material.
Okay, that's our third point, right?
We just didn't have enough to say, and I'm big on this because of the Marine Corps, right, and because of some things I've gone through. Like, you got to earn your keep. Matter of fact, when you started talking to me about a podcast, I wasn't sold. You're like, hey, man, these things are popping. Well, let me rephrase it. Hey, man, these things are popping off, man. That's Eli. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. No, Eli felt it. And I've always kind of talked about this, man, about you being more of the entrepreneur than I am. Like, I'm a super crafty. You give me a sponge, I'm going to squeeze every ounce of water out of it, right? Like, if I'm within a scope, I've got systems on systems on systems and thought processes and angles and plans of action and approaches to just get super creative with whatever we're going to do, right? You've always been a little bit different minded, where you're just more naturally the entrepreneur of like feeling when maybe we should be doing something else or adding something to the plate. So you felt, the podcast thing, and it's been a big thing and it's huge. it's not huge compared to what it will be in these next 10 years.
Yeah.
But podcasting is getting there, and you felt the timing, you wanted it, But even for myself, I was like, man, are we ready? Right? And then we got invited to a podcast, to be on a podcast. We said, hey, instead of just doing it at the computer, we want to come see him. We came see him. We met the guy. We got to have some conversations with him. And I love that because I want to get the nitty gritty, man. I don't just want to be on your podcast. I want to be able to sit down and have dinner and chat and kind of bro up and like, hey, man, what are you all about? What is this podcast thing all about? And I want to get to know the people that are successful at it. Here's why that was valuable. If I'd have just been on his computer, it'd have started, it'd have finished, cool, no big deal. I would have had no perspective. I need my reconnaissance. I need to sneak into that town and watch you for weeks before I murder you, right? I need it. So going and meeting that guy.
Or start a podcast. Murder or start a podcast.
I appreciate you clarifying.
Either one works.
For those of you that don't will yet, we're just kidding. So it was fun to be on the podcast. We could have done it remote, 100%. Here's what I gained from that. I met him. I ask him questions. He speaks to me. I get to know him better, right? And the more and more we do that, the more and more I go, hey, man, he's got a super successful podcast. But he is not blowing my socks off as far as like being some incredible human being. Like he's not winning a Nobel Peace Prize, right? Like I'm not sitting at a table with someone I feel, dude. Right. I'm not sitting at a table with someone I feel is like just unobtainable. And the amount of material he had, I go, man, I think we got more. So again, now this is not gloating. This is not like he's a super awesome guy and he's been super consistent. But it did show me, hey, if that guy's doing it and he's successful, and I feel like we've got this much material and we're this prepared, and it gave me perspective on at his level he's doing it, well, I could do that. We could do that. It gave me perspective on like, hey, no, we are up there. There are some things we were prepared with to get this ball rolling.
Absolutely.
And we did, and now I feel like we arguably have one of the better quality podcasts there is as far as what we speak to, and then just how we approach our bomb shelter and setting this thing up. Undisclosed locations you'll never know about. You can just see the bomb shelter behind me. But no, man, again, and this also helps your confidence. So this is a little bit of a chip on your shoulder, and it comes from confidence. But having a chip on your shoulder and being confident, people think that can be arrogant. It can be. Where it gets arrogant, in my opinion, not to get off topic here, it comes from inexperience. If your chip on your shoulder, your confidence comes off arrogant, I think you're faking it. But if you're prepared and you've been working day in and day out, and you see your competition and you go, all right, like if I'm trying out for a college football team and I see the other 3 running backs or the other 3 quarterbacks that are trying out, and now I get to compare them to myself and I get to see them work, I get to see them play, and I go, oh, those guys aren't making throws that I can't make. Okay. All right, we're pretty evenly matched. Now it's just about knowing the playbook and just calling better shots. But you have perspective when you get to see those guys play, correct?
Yeah.
Not just their highlight film.
Yeah.
So being able to meet that guy and speak to him and get his opinion and get to know him, it just gave me some perspective on where he's at and what he's doing. And rest assured, if he was so far beyond us, I would be able to tell myself, man, we're not ready. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So more importantly for me when we did that podcast was the perspective behind the people doing it versus just being on his podcast. That's where I'll take things, one more layer deep. So not to get off topic, but again, it's okay to have a chip on your shoulder, man. It's okay to be confident. If you're an entrepreneur and you're the tip of the spear and you're out there doing all this stuff, you got to have a chip on your shoulder, because if you're going to listen to every naysayer or be so vulnerable to other people's opinions, man, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to get fucking anywhere.
No, and that's you can't be swayed. You can't be pushed, man. And here's where that's really, really, really going to hurt you. And this was me for years, man, when I was creating content. When you're concerned about that, when you're concerned about ruffling feathers or irritating some people, your content comes off middle of the road. It comes off generic. It ends up not pissing anybody off, but not necessarily resonating with anyone either. And you just end up sounding and looking like every other single person on social media that people aren't listening to.
No one remembers you, man. Like, you can't have a product, that's middle of the road. They have those commercials. I can't remember what it's called. I can't remember what brand is doing it, but they have this like commercial where like you walk in, it's like a realtor, and then like it's a different one next time, and they're belligerently giving you like average service. And it's, it talks about that, but it's true. Like, you're just going to be a product that nobody remembers. Not that I'm saying there's a flip side to that too, right? Like, you can't just go be extreme for the sake of being extreme so you can be a product. No. But even if you're like even if you think like I'm just a middle of the road kind of dude, that's fine. But you can still take a stance on good work. You can take a stance on products that you like. You can take a stance on what you believe in as far as adulting or parenting or quality of work that you bring customers. And there's a niche within everything, right? Like it doesn't matter what your job is. There's a niche. There's a girl in real estate. I don't know her personally. I think she's in New York. She was a new realtor. Sucking. She was doing everything, open houses and cool marketing and all, and just couldn't get a client. So she started marketing on Instagram. Every single day, she did not get a client. Like she would go do an open house and she would ball out and do a great job. I'm like, yep. Still, no one wants to work with me, right?
That's
and she
awesome.
got so popular doing it, she built an entire book of business because she was still being professional and doing a great job, but just shedding light on how hard it is to actually obtain clients, man.
Yeah.
And she kind of just was like, and here's where I love that. She wasn't faking the funk, taking photos by an airplane, taking photos in front of someone else's listing, putting someone else's listing on her Facebook with some gray area. Call me for questions, be like it's yours, but it's not. But because you're a realtor, yes, you can call the other realtor and get answers, and you can look at the MLS. Like smoke and mirrors, right? Like in entrepreneurship, especially in like the real estate world, there's all these smoke and mirrors of people dressing a certain way, acting a certain way. Like they're just balling out of control. And they're full of shit.
Yeah, a lot of them are.
Dude, Fat asked us, hey, man, can you look this guy up? Not going to say any names or anything stupid, right? Not stupid, but just, I don't want to shit on anybody. He's like, hey, can you look somebody up? Like, he acts a certain way. You got it. I'm like, yeah, cool, man. I'm expecting. Like, he's been around a couple of years. Probably has a couple. He's acting out. Zero. He had done zero, but he's out there throwing his parents' money around and acting a certain way. And like this whole fake it till you make it, it's wrong. Social media, people's intuition, we don't give enough credit to humans, okay? Like, for example, I don't necessarily need to know what we're talking about to know you're full of shit, right? Like, I don't necessarily need to know about mechanic stuff on my car. I go get my car fixed, and you start rambling a certain way or over-explaining or saying something. Like, I don't necessarily know how to fix a car, but I'm kind of like, man, like, my intuition is telling me, this guy's upselling me, dude. I don't trust him. I'm getting a weird vibe from this guy. Nope, I'm out. We don't give enough credit to how smart humans and our intuition actually is, man. And especially in real estate. So, and the fake it till you make it, what are you doing? Like, what are you faking? You can't go talk like this. You can't get your ass on a podcast. You can't go actually create or document what's like your own product as far as your opinions. You're going to regurgitate. Like, for example, we see this a lot. Yeah, that title lady, she's awesome. She did a market update. Take notes on it, regurgitate what she says, make your own video. That's a super common thing in real estate. You take someone else's market update and then you just go talk about it. Versus me, I'll just share someone's market update. I would much rather be the guy who knows everyone. Hey, I'm a broker. That means I bring people together to solve a problem. If her entire soul being is addressing like knowing a market update and knowing what market is and this and that, like I'm not going to try to steal her job. If she did a great job, I'm going to post it, right?
Yeah.
However, I also know market updates are only so accurate because it's got to go specific down to a neighborhood, down to a house and the condition, and not only the condition of the house, the seller's circumstances, right? Like there's so much that goes into play. I know a market update only holds so much water, no matter how accurate, no matter how prepared you think you are, it only goes so far. So I know as a broker, I'm not going to try to steal your job. I should be better at everything else that comes after that market update when it applies to a customer. I don't need to be the expert at this. Like, and don't get me wrong, I know market. Yep. But I also know where my job goes into it, right? So that just bothers me, man. The smoke in the mirrors and the faking it till you make it. And you know, so what I loved about hearing that story, matter of fact, Gary Vee was the one that talked about it. What I loved hearing about that was she just took her honest circumstances and documented. Like, no matter how good I'm doing and, hey, I'm dressing and I'm feeling good and I'm approaching my job as a professional and I still don't have a client. And even though she was marketing that, you think no one would work with her. But they saw her professional work. They saw her articulate. They saw her clothes. They saw her be a professional. And then, dude, over time, her shit just got put on the map. Yeah. And again, people appreciate, I think, the honesty. And I think that's a better approach in documenting than putting on your fucking tie or having two cell phones in your fucking hand.
Because here's what that doesn't do. That doesn't build supporters. That doesn't build people that want to see you succeed. That builds people that just scroll right past your picture and think either you're full of shit or just they don't care because, okay, cool, another fancy car on Instagram, and they scroll right by. You're not building any sort of following or tribe, like they'll call it. You know, that girl, dude, she's building a team that roots for the underdog, man, and they're all rooting for her. And, hey, I bet you anything, man, people in Oregon watching her content, if they happen to have a friend in New York who was looking to buy or sell, they'd probably be like, hey, at least check this girl out.
Yeah.
Like, she's hilarious. And they want, you build people that want to see you succeed, man, when you're authentic with people.
100%. And here's the deal too, right? Like, even though she was shedding light on not having a client yet, right? What was super, from what I took of the podcast I was listening to when they were talking about her, one of the hooks there was she was professional.
Yeah.
She articulated well. Like, she was a super awesome chick that just didn't have a client yet. She wasn't like out there fucking off, acting like a jackass and then making fun of herself for not having a client. It's not what I'm saying. She was approaching it extremely serious, like a professional, but also just shedding light that, man, it's harder. It's harder than I thought. And like, I don't have a client yet, but because she was taking herself serious, not too serious, still getting a laugh at herself and being lighthearted, but because she took her job and her craft serious and she was prepared, once people caught on to that and it blew up because they could still fall back on her being professional and trusting her job, man.
Right.
And I think that's big, you know, and this is just where you have to understand, like, faking it till you make it. Okay, cool. Because we all got social media. So if I come out, like, if I'd have come out on social media pretending to be a know-it-all in real estate and like standing in front of $1 million houses and some bullshit, every single person on my social media knows I'm full of shit. It doesn't happen overnight. Now, they might not say that to me. They might say, yeah, cool, bro. Look great, bro. Like that toxic positivity we talk about, those supporters that just support you but aren't buying a fucking thing from you. I just don't understand it. I don't understand the fake it till you make it. I don't think there's a lot of integrity behind it. And you're doing yourself a disservice to just documenting starting from the ground up, because one day when you are a big deal, you'll be able to reflect back on that and show how important it was to start from the ground up, and it's valuable. And you're doing yourself a disjustice in not learning. When you try to be a know-it-all and you're trying to be at that level or whatever it may be, it's all good until like, oh shit, I actually landed a client. Faking the funk, I actually landed a client and now I have to know what I'm talking about, and you don't have a clue. You're going to look like an asshole. And then whatever agent or whatever you're doing that's on the other side of that is going to make you feel like an asshole when you have no clue what you're doing.
Yeah.
And look, like, you just weren't being fair to yourself. Understand, like, it's okay to learn. It's okay to be a beginner. It's okay to go through a process. And I think people respect it when you do, right? And I had a pretty good sized following from the fitness stuff and the law enforcement stuff. I had a ton of support, but everyone knew I was new. But you and I were talking about that the other day, and you said, hey, man, you've always had a good word. Like, whether everyone likes you or not or loves you or not, who knows? However, everyone knows, like, if you're going to do something, you're just going to be good at it, and they respect that whatever you do, it's going to be a good job.
When you yourself, when you're just a legit person and the things that you put your hands into are just good quality things and you're not bouncing around from this to this to this, whatever you do, put your word on and your stamp on, man, people are like, all right, I know Will's legit. This shit's legit. Even if he's new, he's going to be really good at this.
Yeah, and there was some proof to that. But dude, I didn't get a deal from my sphere per se, like friends and family and like people that knew me on social media for like 7 months. A lot of my deals came from outbound.
Yep.
People at the gym, people at the coffee shop, people at my daughter's school, people that knew me but didn't necessarily know what I did. So when I started having more direct conversations and they found out what I did, they didn't necessarily know I was new.
Yeah.
So they allowed me to work with them. So I think there's validity in just allowing that process to grow, man. And just being that raw entrepreneur. I've got another point maybe we can finish off with, but like.
Well, so to summarize what we were just talking about here, because I'm going to do a rundown at the end here. Have good material and content, guys. Don't be full of shit. Like Will said, like, you know, whatever you're speaking to, make sure you know what you're talking about. If it's market update and you don't know market update, share somebody else's valuable information. You're still bringing value. You're still bringing value to your followers. But that's key, guys. And being authentic, just be who you are, because that's what we need people to fall in love with, right? Not this fake person that you can't keep up. That'd be exhausting, man. Trying to keep up the charade of doing deals and wearing your freaking suit. I couldn't come up with enough fake shit to do every single day to keep people believing.
And I'm glad you say suit, right? Like, if a suit, like we've got friends that are in real estate that love that look. If that's you, yeah, man, wear the suit.
It.
If it's not, don't. But documenting is so important to your integrity, especially like if you're an entrepreneur, you're in sales. People will forgive when you're new. People will, like they want to work with people they like, and they want to work with people that they can trust. So even if you are not new or whatever, maybe like, what's his name? Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, Jordan.
It's a hilarious movie, and I like it for the movie. However, he's out there now trying to sell his
sales courses and
his sales course. And he's like, all these other courses are going to say all this and all that and all this. You need a course. I was like, oh, all these other courses are bullshit, which is why you need my bullshit course.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man. And hey, your movie was funny, but you were one of the biggest liars and deceivers and addicts there was. I love your character in a movie. I laugh my ass off. I'm not buying your product. Like, I feel like, dude, you made your money on that movie. Like, you went to jail, you went to prison or whatever. Someone like bought your story, made a movie out of it. You made $1 gazillion. Cool. Hey, dude, your time in sales as that name, you better change your name.
Yeah.
Jordan.
Dude.
Okay, because in my opinion, hey, dude, it was a hilarious movie and you made your money on it. I'm not buying your course. And it's not because I think something's illegal in your course. I know you're a fucking gimmick. So what do I think your course is going to be? A gimmick. You're just going to say, hey, I know the truth. Then it fucking reminds me of religion. Don't even get me started, right? Like, you got all these religions, and then you got the one religion that says, all those other religions are making you this. Come here, wear your bedazzled jeans. I'm going to wear an electric guitar, and we're non-denominational. What? It's like hungry hippos, dude. Everyone's just trying to grab those marbles in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay, and like when you run out of types of hippos, what marbles are left? They don't want
something else.
So
yeah.
these marbles left don't like A, B, or C. So you're going to be the spiky hair, rascal flat looking religion that lets you come in bedazzled jeans and eat a bagel during church. You're like, oh man, this is so cool. It's so neutral. They don't judge me. No, man. It's like hey, here's how to be a good person. Why is that a religion? Holy shit. Don't get me started.
I mean, fuck, man. If anything's going to be a religion, it should just be a good person religion.
Well, and here's my deal on religion, since I stupidly brought it up. My only opinion on anything is if it makes you a better person, great.
Yep.
However, no, I don't like when people prey on people to our want to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. It's there. And when people prey on it, I don't like it. So again, back into the sales thing. Oh, all these other courses are going to say this. So buy my bullshit doesn't say that. It says that. Mm-hmm. Come on, man. Mm-hmm. And you're a gimmick. So, man, just being honest and having integrity behind what you do, it's super important. Like, your word is everything no matter what you do. Mm-hmm. And again, don't do yourself a disservice. It's okay to be new. It's okay to learn, right? Like, allow yourself to have that process. And then if you want to document what you're learning and what you're going through a process over time, like maybe not right away, but your book of business will be so much better because everyone saw you do it right. And then when you are at that level where you're super knowledgeable, people trust it and respect it. So maybe your first year, you don't pop off as quickly as you wanted, but the next 25 years of your business, and because you did it honestly, dividends.
Yeah,
man. Big time.
Let's dive into quality, man. So we're documenting, we're consistent, we've got good material and content. Quality. You got to have a good product. Yes.
And then, so some people are watching this or they're hearing this. Our audio, phenomenal.
Phenomenal. On point for sure.
Almost upsettingly phenomenal. And I'm only saying that because we've heard other podcasts with like some super famous people in the business world that I like, and I hear their audio echoing in their mansion.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, you all that money you make, you can't get a setup in your basement or your main lobby. You can't put together some good audio so when I'm in my car, I can hear it clear. Mm-hmm. Video, phenomenal, right? So this is one layer of quality. If you're going to have a visual product for a produced podcast, I feel like the audio has to be unparalleled.
Yes.
So people can
hear it,
And
that's fairly easy nowadays, man. Even just 5 years ago, dude, like getting good quality audio equipment, super expensive, super complicated to understand, big soundboards and shit. The technology that they have now for podcasts is pretty ridiculous, man. It's pretty plug and play.
And guess what? Go to Google. Okay, Google podcast audio, audio and video kits, and they'll show you great things to put together. Joe Rogan shows his entire setup. Jocko shows his entire setup. If you're being resourceful, You're going to find plenty of examples to go off of. Find out what works in your budget. There's even things out there that'll say, hey, if you only have this much money, you need these things.
Yes.
Like don't go cheap on this, right? Like there's ways of doing it. Now this is one level of quality. Materials, right? Like professionally produced video. So if we're doing a walkthrough on a home or we're doing real estate, content when it comes to produced, right? Like it's droned, it's got great audio. We wear lav mics so you can hear us no matter where we're at in the house, and it's quality.
Yeah.
Our podcast, quality. Whether you like what we say or not, maybe you're not listening anymore. I don't know. Fuck off. I get it. Right? Maybe we're not quality for you. However, the material, right? The superficial side, the audio, the visual, like the eye-catching drone stuff, super quality. Because, man, like no matter what I put my stamp on, I want to know, like, hey, man, no matter what that guy's been doing, he's always putting his best foot forward, and it's always quality. Now, there's another side to quality, and that's what comes out of your mouth, and understanding that levels of video or audio are subjective. So I remember watching like a God over there, peanuts. Eli's pulling peanuts out of his
food in
pocket.
my pocket, like Napoleon Dynamite.
Gee, don't
Tater tots.
Oh, Jesus. I was watching a Gary Vee video one time, and he was on an airplane, and it was kind of dark. You could see him, but it was dark, and he had just gotten done with like a week just trip, and he had a lot to say, and he had like a lot you could tell he was super emotional. Not mad, not angry, just passionate. You could tell he was super passionate about what he wanted to say to his audience. And it was on his mind. He wanted to get off his chest, so he pulled his phone out and he recorded a video while he was in the plane. So then, when you get to that, you're like, well, Will, what kind of quality is that? This is where I'm talking about subjectiveness as far as audio and visual, but quality of what comes out of your mouth and how much impact it has. So that video, man, it got me jazzed up. Like when I can see a guy care, like it almost made me more of a fan of his because I saw him not producing something, to a certain level and just getting some intimate thoughts off his chest and the vulnerability and the honesty behind it. It was everything he wasn't saying that made me more of a fan. I love it, man. And it was behind the scenes. So we also have to talk about, well, what's your quality when it's behind the scenes? Like, how do you use Snapchat? How do you use Instagram stories? Like, those are obviously for a certain reason. And when you're behind the scenes and you're doing things, if you're on a job site, if you're getting ready to do a public speaking and you're behind stage, well, yeah, those are non-produced, intimate cell phone selfie videos, but people are expecting that. They actually want that.
Yeah.
When they're looking at you behind the scenes. So whatever's produced and prepared for like a profession like this stuff, I think needs to be top notch. Yeah. And then, and
a little rule of thumb, that I like with that is like Instagram stories or Facebook stories, for example. Like I like those. Those are really good, intimate sides of the platform to where it doesn't have to be this finished product. People actually go there so that they can see more of the raw stuff. Now, if it goes on your Facebook post, if it goes on your Instagram wall, that's where I personally do like having that be a little more polished product because people go, that's kind of like your storefront. You know what I mean?
Yep.
People go there and they're scrolling through and overall your page has a certain look and feel to it. And that's where I do like having just kind of a set, okay, this is my storefront. If people want to see behind the scenes, behind the register, in the warehouse sort of thing, that's a good place for your stories, right?
100%, man. And, like in our world, when you see like realtors or lenders like put a couple of photos up of like an open house or a new listing and the photos are cut off.
Oh God. Yeah.
Like on the news feed.
Yep.
Have you even like, hey, you got to go to a collage platform and you got to put those together you can't just upload 4 photos into Facebook because it's got to fit to a certain parameter.
Take 5 minutes and
it's going to cut it off. So
right.
you got to go to platforms. Instagram has its own collage maker now. Like it's pretty simple if you're diving into it, but yeah, when you put something through, onto your wall, that's going to be on a news feed. You want to make sure it's prepared so people can see the listing price and all the photos versus it being, that's just one little thing. But you're right, man. Like you just want to show a great product. And then, so everything is just context, right? Like if I'm behind the scenes before I go do a public speaking, they're expecting to have the look and feel behind the scenes. Hence why Snapchat was such a big deal.
Yeah.
Because you had like, what's his name? DJ Khaled on his fucking jet ski
so funny.
With his lost ass in the ocean.
So funny.
He doesn't got lighting out there, right? But like you felt like you were there. I think that was the whole intent behind Snapchat, especially with celebrities, man. It's like, here's what I'm seeing. All of you are out in the crowd. I'm Snapchatting my point of view, like Joe Rogan does it a lot on his Instagram stories.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like he's showing the entire crowd, and you can see how bright the lights are shining on stage, and you can barely even see the crowd. Like he's giving you his point of reference, right? Which is cool. That's what we want. So again, the quality behind that is what you're getting from it, the impact of the video or the impact of what someone's saying. So like a Gary Vee saying what he had to say on that airplane, super impactful. Seeing him be that passionate about what he does, even though he's that exhausted, made me a fan. And then the other one is just point of reference. Being able to see what Joe Rogan sees from a comedy stage of 2,000 or 10,000 people, or being able to see like Pink walking on stage and there's 60,000 people in a stadium and she's flying around on her fucking cables. Like, that's cool. So the quality behind that is, again, I get to see what she sees per se, right? So I think that's what's so intriguing about Snapchat and Instagram stories. So when we're talking about quality, it's subjective to what platform. What, are you doing a video walkthrough of a new listing? Okay, it's not your cell phone.
Nope.
It's not Instagram stories. Like, it should be professionally done so people can get the best look and feel for that home possible. I'm using real estate as an example because that's what we do. And then if you're doing something behind the scenes, like if you're at the house preparing that listing to be professionally videoed and photographed, yeah, that could be on your stories or Snapchat. Like, you can kind of show what you're up to do that. So again, understanding different layers of platforms, understanding your Snapchats and your Instagram stories and Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, and just understand what those are used for, how they integrate together, like what's overlap, what's not, and then just understanding that the quality of work is subjective to what you're trying to portray. Sometimes what you're trying to portray might be the atmospherics. Pink walking on stage. She doesn't have to say a word. It's quality, because I've never in my life walked on stage looking at 60,000 people, okay? So it's already there just by being able to see that. Other stuff is going to be like if you're explaining how to drain your sprinkler system because it's wintertime and it's coming. Yeah, there's some really good stuff there. It doesn't have to be entertaining like Pink. It's just valuable because
it's
maybe
informative.
No one knows how to damn do it.
Right.
And you just showed them. And they're like, oh, wow, I was going to do that this week, and I don't have to get on YouTube. I can watch Jim Bob's face, like, and they're watching it, and you just created some value. So again, but should that be clear and concise, and should you show them, and could you put some editing on the screen to make it easier to understand? Could the screen pause while some of your graphics come up so they can stay on pace? Yeah, big time. So I think in addition to just saying quality, you guys have to understand what is quality, what are you going for on each platform, like what's this mission? And then what rates, behind the scenes stuff, professionally produced stuff. And then you have like middle of the road. If you don't have enough money to professionally produce a lot of different things, that's fine. But there are a shit ton of courses on YouTube of how to use your iPhone to create and edit some pretty awesome stuff.
Dude, and just getting on Amazon and getting a $12 plug-in lapel mic, huge. Getting the $25 little like selfie stand with the light on it, huge. One thing that I wanted to bring up, man, is like always getting better and never settling for the status quo or the type of content that you used to do. And then in addition to that, looking at what other people are doing and always finding a way to differentiate yourself. So, for example, 2 years ago, open house walkthroughs worked really well. When I would do an open house, I would just do a walkthrough and kind of narrate the house and just some cool things about it. I got awesome engagement. Then about, a year ago, everyone started doing it. And now on a Saturday or Sunday, you scroll through my Facebook feed anyway, and you just see open house, open house, open house. That's an indicator to me. All right, stop doing that, right? What else can I talk about? So then we talk about a feature of the house, and then we do podcasts. And it's like, so always getting better and always trying to level up.
Right. Let me ask, what do you think? So back in the day, right, veteran,
Right.
Back in the day when you said those open house walkthroughs worked, what worked about them?
Just people commenting, people engaging, people being interested, like commenting on the kitchen, commenting on the just a lot more engagement than I've got doing that even a year and a half ago.
So on your
engagement
Facebook
as a whole.
Okay, so Facebook Live, like it was super new and people were just curious like what their friends were out doing and they were commenting on it. And then at some point, because everyone's a realtor, walking through an open house became super boring.
Yes.
Or just super people just weren't, and I think as a whole, just Facebook Live, sometimes you're limited a little bit. But yeah, man, I think you definitely have to evolve. Rule of thumb, marketers ruin everything.
Yes, they do.
And when I mean marketers, if you're not watching, I'm doing like my quote here. Marketers, like I'm not saying licensed or professional marketers that like have a 3 million follower Instagram and like have made people millionaire marketers. I'm talking about everyone thinks they're a goddamn marketer. Okay.
Yeah.
Realtors, lenders,
Well,
everyone,
everyone,
because we all have social media pages now.
Yes.
Everyone, including myself, thinks that we're a marketer. Yes, to a fault. We tend to like water things down, so you have to just find ways to be more innovative. And you know, like for being a realtor, we talk about this. Like, hey guys, what are the chances of someone on your social media buying that house? Zero. Okay, so why even do it anyway? Well, yeah, Will, why even do it anyway? You said we had to. You're right, but why? Because you're almost interviewing people that are on your page, that are your friends and your family, or people that just have mutual friends and they're friends with you on Facebook, but they've never met you. They're watching your quality of work. So if you're talking about school districts and different construction growth that's in the area and the school that's getting rebuilt, or the light rail that's coming in or something, or hey, the strip mall that's supposed to be here in 3 years, when you're talking about stuff like that and you're going over different parks and hey, I tried out this restaurant, it serves this kind of food, I liked it. Like, you're showing how in depth you go with a listing. So even though people aren't going to buy that house per se, they might buy you one day and go, man, he or she is just super detail oriented. Yeah. And the quality of work that they produce. Wow, we like that. So you're interviewing, your social media, especially if you're an entrepreneur, especially if you're in sales, like you're interviewing for that next part because your product matters. Okay. Like we're helping a friend of ours, right now. I've known him forever. I've known him with his son working out at 24 Hour Fitness, man. And then when I had a son, I reached out to him because he's a great dad and I wanted to just learn more from him. Well, hey man, we're helping him sell and buy right now. There's a lot of money involved. You don't think he's been watching? Yeah. And now that you've met him and you kind of see how detail oriented it is, or some things he'll kind of like talk or remind us of, like, dude, he drops little hints of just him being him, he's paying attention.
Yeah, he is.
Like it matters that someone has watched our stuff or trusts us enough to do a good job. You go and do a good job. Don't lie to him. Don't throw some false hope and say how much you're going to crush it and you're going to get so much more for that. Some bullshit that you can't control. However, go be professional, advised to the best of your capability, and just do a great job within the scope of what you're allowed to do, right? And prove people right. But that's where you have to understand like quality of work and just understand like who my audience is and why I'm doing this, okay? Why are you doing an open house video? Why are you just walking through showing the house? No one's going to buy the house. See, this is where realtors are freaking wrong. No one on your social media, excuse me for all of you people that live in the anomaly world. There might be someone who sells a house and someone saw it on Facebook. I get it. It's not impossible. The likelihood of you walking through an open house and showing every damn room, okay, from your point of view, and someone buying that house super, super, super low compared to people watching your quality of work, asking you to be their realtor. Okay, so you have to understand, like, when you're doing an open house, when you're doing a video or you're doing a Colorado home buyer, whatever you're doing in your work, you got to understand, like, okay, what's the product right now? Because sometimes it's you. Like, if you and I are doing an open house or whatever, we're like, dude, you and I are the product, not the house.
It's true.
If they're that curious about the house and I highlight just the kitchen because I don't want to be boring and walk through the entire house, but I highlight a kitchen, if they're that interested, they're going to reach out, okay? Yeah. More importantly, where you're going to get more people reaching out is you're probably more likely to get customers that want you to be their realtor before someone buys that house on your Facebook Live walkthrough. So, again, you're showing the house when the house isn't the product. You're, in my opinion, at that moment, you're the product. How well you conduct yourself is what brews curiosity. And when you have no one working with you from your social media or friends and family, maybe they don't trust your work. Maybe they don't trust your judgment. Maybe they don't think you're the most professional person. And if they think that, I don't know, but are you checking yourself? Are you making these incremental adjustments to come off professional and deserving of people's business?
That's especially important with service-based industries, man. If you're in a service-based industry, your heating and air conditioning services aren't the product, right? Your fence building company is not the product. It's you. It's the person who's going to be doing the service that people are buying. So showing how well you prepare for an open house and set it up and market it is a great video. If you have that heating and air conditioning company, showing how when you come into a house, you put on little shoe booties and stuff and like bring a treat for the dog or something. Like, that's the stuff that people are gonna be like, oh, hey, this guy's funny and he's considerate. Like, they expect you to do a good job with the heating and air conditioning. You don't need to sell them on that shit, right? That's expected. It's how you treat them and what the service is like and just the experience for the customer. And if you can portray that to them, you're gonna win, guys, over your competition for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
And then for the naysayers out there that don't do open houses, because you tell me open houses don't sell houses, we have personally sold houses from open houses.
Yeah, happens all
You hear
the
it. You hear
time,
it from
man.
flat rate companies, and then you hear it from people that don't want to do it. My rebuttal to people when they say, open houses don't work. Okay, so a house has never been sold off of an open house? Because I've sold several off of an open house. But it doesn't work? Oh, it does work. But it works so little that you don't do it? You're lazy. And here's the deal for everyone that's listening that has a realtor or they want to sell one day. Here's the truth. Let me throw some secret at you. Okay, I'm an alien, and I know the future. You don't know where your sale's going to come from. You don't know if it's going to come from the MLS. You don't know if it's going to come from social media paid campaigns.
Correct.
Open houses, the neighbor calling their auntie because the house down the street's for sale.
Correct.
Someone just randomly driving by. It's in like a local newspaper. It's in the fucking nail shop magazine for Vietnamese Unlimited. I don't know. You don't know. That's my point. For someone to tell you they know where a sale's going to come from, they're a liar.
Yeah.
And here's my deal. What are people saying to you? And what are people saying to you? So when someone says, "Oh no, I didn't say that. I didn't say I know where a sale's coming from. I just said open houses don't work." No, that's what you're saying. You're crossing off an entire pillar of activity. But you're not telling me that you don't know if something's going to come from there or not, but you're going to X it off? No. What you should be doing is you should be doing every single thing possible with the best of your ability, understanding I got no idea where my buyer's going to come from. So what I should be doing is preparing myself the best that I can with every single pillar possible within a budget that's affordable for you, affordable for your seller, affordable for both, whatever it is. I should be doing everything to the best of my ability, knowing that that gives me the best probability to sell this house. But you can't say, "Oh, that doesn't work." Really?
Well, and to tie that into content, like, again, don't get caught in the trap of saying, video doesn't work. Blogs don't work. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. Do like what feels natural for you and do the best you can with what you have, right? So if you don't have the microphones or a podcast or anything like that, take out your damn phone, right? You could literally plug a $15 microphone into your cell phone, record directly to there, and get a quality podcast. You're not going to have the streaming video. You don't necessarily need that. So don't mark things off because you think that they don't work or they don't apply, right? Like, make sure you're checking all the boxes that you can possibly check. And then my last point here, unless you got another last point, we should have a few last points.
Gamut.
Is just having proper expectations as far as what creating content is like, right?
Okay.
And the expectation of just going into it and starting slow, doing the best you can with what you got, but then understanding that it's going to take years and years and years of consistent content before you see the scales really starting to tip in your favor. It takes a bit, and going into it with that sort of mindset prevents you from being depressed or, being upset and quitting 3 months into it when you've been consistent and you just don't quite have the following that you thought you'd have.
100%. And again, it's okay to be new. It's okay to just understand you got some growing and there's just some things to conquer prior to maybe doing any content. And then as you do content, you're right. Like, you have to be consistent.
Get good at something first.
Correct. Yeah. Like for me, I'm not going to have a blog, right? Like I have written my ass off through college, through being a cop and writing police reports and just a ton of stuff, man. And being a police officer, it would blow your mind how much you write. Blow your mind of just chronologically going through a crime, start to finish with as much as you can put in there from what you remember. And it's important, man. Those are cases, right? So you'd be surprised. You'd be in your car for hours typing up a report. Hours. Okay. Yeah. Sex assault. Have a good day. Your day's done. You take a sex assault. There's so much investigation that goes into just what this person is saying to you when you arrive on scene, to going through that stuff, to going through to like when you get that person to the hospital and how the evidence was collected. I'm talking super detailed, bro. Yeah. Dude,
that'd be a great blog right there, man.
It's a valuable but boring one. Yeah. And like, for example, I wrote I think it was 1,000 words. One of my training officers had me do it. I hated it. But it was he went extreme to prove a point. And I wasn't a bad trainee. I think he does it with all of them. on my days off, he's like, hey, while you're off, I need you to write me a 1,000-page report. And in my head, I'm thinking like, dude, I could shit 1,000 words. Easy. He goes, make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's it. He goes, basic enough, right? Like, you understand how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? I go, yeah. He goes, okay. So do that over the weekend. Wherever you're at, do that. Make one, eat one, but then I need you to write me 1,000 words on that. Bro.
So you're like, open the refrigerator.
No, like, where am I sitting? Like, no, like, what time did I walk into my house?
God.
What time did I sit down?
Yeah.
You know, like, trying to remember, like, okay, where was I at when I decided to make one? Okay, I'm in my living room.
Yeah.
And then, and then just what I observed in my living room while I was walking to the kitchen, to where I grabbed the knife from, what drawer with what hand.
Yeah.
You know, like, where was the knife? To the far left, to the far right? Where are the knives at? Like,
so you're like cashed
super
out
detailed.
on writing.
And again, it was like extreme. It was way more detailed than probably it had to be, but it proves a point in a thought process of like, look, here's how detail oriented you could get with something. So when you're an officer and you arrive on scene, or you're conducting an investigation, here's how well you can actually ask questions. Mm-hmm. And then it gave you perspective on like what questions aren't really needed. Okay, like what questions are needed. And then just how well you can actually build a case and how detailed you can get. Because here's the deal. You don't know what happened. Mm-hmm. So you never know. And I'm sure if people are out there, they've watched like those real crime shows where like they depict real investigations. Yeah. And it was like something off the wall that tipped something that convicted. So you never know what detail that you put into a report that helps you remember something. You never know what little detail is going to create someone getting charged or someone being freed, right? Like, you just never know. So you have to do the best you can with every little circumstance possible to do that, right? So I wasn't even sure where I was going with that.
So no blog post for you. Fuck
blog
post.
Yeah, so fuck that. I ain't writing. Hey, look, you need a peanut butter and jelly? I got one for you. I got it saved.
Well, you know what's awesome, bro, is every YouTube video we do, and we're not there yet, but eventually we will be when we add that layer. Dude, there's, again, people where their job is to watch your content and then write a blog post about it for $25, right? So again.
Yes. So kind of like where I was going with that was, it's not because I don't believe in blogs, it's because that's not me. So when we talk about creating as in documenting / create, like you're creating it because it's coming to life. Not that you need to make a movie trailer, but you're documenting and you're creating content. The reason why it's so important to kind of just stay with what your strengths are and what you enjoy is because it's hard to be consistent. So when you're doing things that naturally come to play, like for you and I think by episode 33 here, it's pretty clear I'm really good at running my mouth on what I think I know. And you're really good at backing me up and following up with comments that are in your lane with what I'm speaking about. And you and I have a great back and forth, but we really enjoy bringing value. We really enjoy having conversations. We really enjoy meeting people and asking questions. And it allows us to excel at long form content like we are. A lot of people can't talk for an hour and a half, right? Especially for this many episodes. A lot of people can, don't get me wrong. But I think it feeds into our strength.
It does.
So I think with you and I, with being consistent, whether it was a once a week video that turned into a 2 a week video, that turned into a blog or a podcast / blog. We did a blog for a long time that just kind of shifted into a permanent podcast because it's on video. And I think feeling that momentum, is super important, and just sticking to your strengths, because it's hard enough. It's hard enough as it is to grow a business.
So true.
If you're trying to force yourself to do things you don't like or that you're not naturally good at, like, dude, if I had to sit down and write a blog, it ain't happening. It's just not. So again, stick to your strengths and what you're good at. And here's the other deal. I said what you're good at. If you don't know, try. This is not the default where you go, oh, I'm not good at that. Have you tried?
Point.
No. Then you don't know.
That's a great point.
Like, I've written my ass off for years. If Eli asked me to write a blog, I'm going to punch him in the face. Right? And then he's going to choke me out with jiu-jitsu.
Good at it. I'm sure you'd be good at it.
Yeah, and then you're going to choke me out with your jiu-jitsu and embarrass me. No. And then Eli beats me up, right? But the bottom line is, I've got perspective on it, and I know, man, this is not me. So if you're new to business and your entrepreneurship, or if you're new to like social media, like you've got a successful business, but you want to scale and do some social media or some YouTube or whatever it may be, whatever it is, yes, I do think it's important to stick to your strengths and just understand that whoever also likes your strengths. So there are people, believe it or not, that still love to read. not watch you on camera.
Yeah, dude, super popular, man.
Super.
Yeah.
So, and then there's a lot of people that love the audio portion, which is why you and I do video stuff for YouTube and Facebook Live. But we also, right, which is the biggest thing we have, which is iTunes. And we're in Philippines and Germany and Australia. We've got downloads all over the place because some people like to turn their screen off and just work out in the gym and listen to a podcast, or they like to be in their car and listen to it, not necessarily have to watch the screen, but they want to listen. So in addition to keeping to your strengths, understand that your strengths can get cut up. So even though Eli and I are big on video, okay, we understood where the podcast platforms were at, where they're listened to. So believe it or not, even though we love video, our strongest thing is just the audio portion, right? Like we are leaps and bounds ahead with Spotify and iTunes on just the audio clip instead of the audio and visual together, right? So understand that your content can be split up onto different platforms. Maximize it the best that you can. But yes, I do think it's important to just stay true to yourself. Understand there's going to be fans. Whatever you like, I promise you, other people out there like it. You're going to reach them. And I think it resonates when you enjoy what you do. We were talking about this over the weekend. When you enjoy what you do and you're into it, I think it bleeds.
Contagious.
Yeah, and I think, people trust it, man. So I think those are big things.
Yeah.
Let me see if I got anything else. I see this notebook I got for you guys. Let me see if I got anything else for you guys today.
Well, I'll kind of, as you're looking that up, I'll kind of summarize a little bit here, guys. So far, when it comes to creating content for your business or your brand, document, don't create. Be consistent. Have good material and content. Be informational, be entertaining, have impact. Make sure whatever content you're putting out is quality, right?
Yeah.
Good audio, good visual, at a minimum, excellent content, right? Always be getting better. Plan on doing this shit for a long time, guys. It takes forever.
100%. And I'm glad you said entertaining. Guys, understand, being valuable is entertaining.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, like if I'm watching someone and maybe I wouldn't normally be their friend and they're boring, but whatever they're talking about is a great video on how to blow out my sprinklers, it's entertaining to me because it's valuable and I'm listening and I'm engaged. I don't need him to be my best friend. I don't need him to say a joke on camera. If that's not him, cool. If you're watching me do the sprinkler video, I'm probably going to say a joke or I'm probably going to have some fun with it or throw something else in there because that's just me,
Dude,
right?
I would. You should literally make a video of you doing it for the first time ever, and you're like, dude, you'd have blowing water in your face or something. That'd be hilarious. I would watch
Eli,
that.
This is one of those moments where like I try to relate. I've never made a mistake.
Oh, no.
I've never been wrong. Time I thought I was wrong, but I was actually
Bro,
right.
shut up. Go blow out those fucking sprinklers.
No,
I'm going to film that.
I favor someone. But again, being yourself. So, and again, like that word you say, hey, be entertaining. Fuck, I'm not funny. I'm not cool.
Be informational then.
Right. So entertaining, like I would say just be valuable.
Yes.
Okay. Like we've also had videos where it was nothing specific, but we had a good time on video. Maybe someone just needed a good laugh. That's also valuable. So in addition to be entertaining, I think the better phrase for that is be valuable.
Yeah, because information can be valuable. Entertainment can be valuable.
100%, man. And just give yourself a consistent window to just assess. As far as like where you're feeling a momentum and where you're feeling a shift. And we were talking about this today. I guess I'll kind of leave us with this, with an analogy. If you guys can, if you're driving, don't do this. But if you can close your eyes and kind of imagine. Remember we were speaking today, I said, hey, man, remember those mazes at the circus? Or like the carnival fairs where like you walk into a maze and it's all mirrors?
The House of Mirrors, yeah.
The House of Mirrors. So you're just looking at yourself and like you don't really know if it's a mirror or if you can go through because the reflection makes it look like it.
Yeah.
When you guys are in business, you know, like you're constantly looking at yourself, which is like all those mirrors like looking at you. And it's really hard to tell like which direction to go. You kind of have to feel for like, hey, is that a mirror? Nope. Like, hey, that's a shift. I got some space there. And then you got some space doesn't mean you can just haul ass and go running. You might run into a mirror. But hey, I've got some space. So how I would correlate that is when you're feeling for that mirror and there's nothing there, like, hey, that's where there's some momentum. Go in that direction. So if you're doing a podcast or if you're doing a Friday video and you're getting some reaction to it, or even more specifically, within your Friday videos, like you and I were doing them for a year. But we noticed every time we did a fitness video on how we stay fit within business, now that you're not living at the gym anymore and I'm not at a fitness company, we have real jobs. How are we staying fit? By far, our number one videos every single damn time. And they were your idea, so it pisses me off, right? But I would describe that as like, hey, that's not a mirror. Ooh, hey, there's space there. Yep. Okay, what do we do with that space? We created a networking group that we've had all year. And we've got to meet new people and help them. So we constantly look at ourselves for judgment. And are we doing something right? Are we not doing right? And you can be looking at yourself so much. It's like the house of mirrors where you don't even know what your next direction is. Don't forget to kind of put your feelers out. And you're not going to see it. You're going to have to feel where there's some momentum. And, hey, start sliding in that direction as you continue to push forward. And as you go that direction, realize it might open up 3 or 4 different avenues. Yeah. But you've got to be, as much as you're documenting and being consistent with all this, you still have to be cognizant of the momentum that starts coming around you and what's working and what's not working. And you still have to make, even though something's working, like you're still going to have other incremental decisions and directional changes to make as you grow in business. Whoever conquers those incremental changes and rides the momentum and makes the right choices in business, those are the guys that win. Versus you're blindly just putting content out and you're not really assessing what's going on with it, right? Because, man, you might just be a couple clicks off here or there where you could be making some great sound decisions and you're fucking missing them. Big deal. So make sure you're still paying attention to those as you guys are super, super looking at yourself to create.
It's good, bro.
You're good, bro.
Love you, man.
Love you too,
good
bro.
Podcast.
Right on, man.
We'll see you guys at the end of this week. Thanks for
Everyone,
listening.
no, hold on a minute. Everyone's got to throw Eli. Hey, if you're still listening, throw Eli a shout out today for running the podcast solo on his own, running these big old machines. Throw him a big shout out for conquering that and doing a great job.
Appreciate that, bro.
You bet, man.
We'll see you guys. Thank you.
Later, guys.